Imagine stepping out in faith, believing that God is calling you to something greater. At first you feel confident, you know He's with you, but then reality hits. The wind howls, the waves rise, doubt creeps in, and suddenly everything that felt so certain begins to crumble beneath your feet. That's exactly what happened to Peter when he walked on water. He wasn't just a disciple in that moment, he was a man stepping out into the impossible. But fear stole his focus, and he sank. Have you ever felt that way? You start with faith, but fear takes over. You begin to question if God really called you, if you really heard His voice, if you really have what it takes. And before you know it, you're drowning in doubt, failure, and fear. Let's break this down, because the reason Peter sank is the same reason you might be sinking right now. Step 1. Faith starts strong, but fear waits in the waves. Peter wasn't hesitant when Jesus called him. He didn't stop to analyze the situation. He stepped out, boldly, confidently. And for a moment he did the impossible, he walked on water. But then something changed. The Bible says, "But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, 'Lord, save me.'" Matthew 14:30. Peter's faith was real, but so was his fear. He took his eyes off Jesus and focused on the storm. And the moment he did, his faith was overwhelmed. How often do we do the same? We step out in obedience, trusting God with our career, our relationships, our future. But then we get distracted. We start looking at the financial struggles, the unanswered prayers, the opposition we're facing. We stop focusing on who called us and start focusing on what's against us. If you've ever felt like you were sinking, ask yourself, where is my focus? On Jesus or on the storm? Step 2. Fear thrives where faith is abandoned. Fear isn't just an emotion, it's a weapon, and the enemy loves to use it to keep you from moving forward. Peter didn't sink because Jesus stopped holding him up. He sank because he allowed fear to speak louder than God's voice. How many times have you let fear dictate your steps? Fear of failure stops you from pursuing your calling. Fear of rejection keeps you from sharing your faith. Fear of not being enough makes you settle for less than what God has for you. Fear only has power when we give it attention. The more you focus on the waves, the stronger they seem. But faith doesn't mean the storm disappears. It means you trust Jesus, even when the waves are high. Step 3. Jesus doesn't let you drown, but you have to reach for Him. Peter made one crucial decision that changed everything. When he started sinking, he cried out to Jesus, and immediately Jesus reached out and caught him. Jesus didn't let Peter drown, and He won't let you either. But notice this. Jesus didn't stop the storm before reaching for Peter. He didn't calm the waves first. He pulled Peter up while the storm was still raging. This is huge, because sometimes we're waiting for God to calm our situation before we trust Him. But God is saying, trust me in the storm. If you feel like you're sinking, don't try to fix it on your own. Cry out to Jesus. Let Him pull you back up. Conclusion. Keep your eyes on Jesus. Peter walked on water because he trusted Jesus. He sank because he feared the storm. And the same is true for you. If you keep your eyes on Jesus, you'll do the impossible. But if you focus on fear, you'll sink every time. So today, make a decision. No matter what you're facing, keep your eyes on Jesus. Drop a comment below, I choose faith. Let's declare it together. And if this message spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who feels like they're drowning right now. Because the truth is, Jesus is still reaching out His hand. All you have to do is grab it.